to introduce these two players since we're loaded into the game.
Definitely. We are here on Whirlwind once again in the round of 8 of the ninth qualifier of the Dutch Starcraft League. We have spawning in the top left corner of the map the blue Protoss player representing team Druids. It's Wanna. And his opponent in the bottom right corner, also playing Protoss, it is the yellow player xpTOPshooter.
Now, apparently everyone's laughing at how I said hyphen. Apparently, I just realized that something like hyphen apparently equals the symbol, which I'm gonna make everyone laugh, and I'm sorry for everyone who's got a drink for this. Koppel taken. Koppel taken? Is that right?
Koppel taken. Yeah, that's maybe the official term, but
like that.
Actually we just say streepje.
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 Yeah, close enough.
Like that's good enough. People are getting drunk because of you. Stop it. Just stick with English. You can do that. Whereas meanwhile, we should talk about the game, which is something these players can definitely do a lot better than we can. And I love the fact that currently DSC League is having to translate what I was saying in the beta key just so they try and understand. And this just adds to the fun of it. If there's like G and J apparently is quite difficult to tell the difference between, but that just means you'll have to try the different combinations.
Yeah, just I wonder how often you can fill something in the key registration bit before it blocks you out. If everyone's now spamming dozens of different combinations.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. But for the meantime, we do just have, in terms of this game, this PvP setting out to be relatively normal. A command center. I mean, a cybernetics core coming out for both players at the moment. There is no command centers going to be built this game. It is an impossibility, I can assure everyone. The second gas now coming down for Wanna. Meanwhile, we do have the second gas already done for Shooter.
But TOPshooter only has 2 probes in each simulator, so he doesn't want the full double gas income, but he also wants a bit more than just the one simulator. Maybe he has something very particular mapped out that he needs 4 probes in gas for.
Yeah, those 4 probes in gas tend to be for very specific timings, so hopefully we will see something awesome come out from Shooter. So we are just currently seeing a sentry, nothing too much else. The single Zeta trying to chase down Wanna's single probe, trying to scout it out. But of course, he's double gas, sees that there's 2 drones in each gas, and therefore should be relatively comfortable with what's happening. Doesn't see the robotic facility come down though. That would have been a nice little bit of information to scout out. And that robo, what that just means is you can start deducing what your opponent's doing. Wanna though, getting the Twilight Council, almost certain to be Blink. Blink Stalkers, a staple of PvP. And that is one of the reasons I like PvP, because Blink Stalker play can be so micro intensive, but also separates the boys from the men.
Yeah, definitely. But I think that with the early robo, TOPshooter is in a decent position to hold it off. Once he identifies the threat of Blink Stalkers, he can just focus on getting these Immortals out, because Blink doesn't really do that much against the Immortals, because their shots connect directly, unlike Stalker shots, which you can actually blink away from.
Yeah, that is something that is very, very important to note as well. So thank you for pointing that out to anyone who may not have known that. Meanwhile, back in the game, we do just have this one probe for Wanna placing down a proxy pylon. That is so essential in order to try and get some more damage, and to try and get rather more warpins coming in. And that damage from the push maximize Shooter, if he can defend it with some good force fields, is going to be absolutely essential.
Yeah, we see that the first Immortal is about to pop out for TOPshooter. He's also morphing in his gateways to warp gates. Stalker's coming up to poke up the ramp just to see what's there. Doesn't get a view just yet. Wanna is now getting his robotics facility, so he will get the observer out to be able to blink onto the high ground if he wants to. Oh, and TOPshooter is moving down to make a nexus. That is bold. Wanna does pull back, but I wonder what he's going to do after seeing his opponent dropping the nexus there so boldly.
Well, if you see that Nexus so boldly, you've got to really try and punish it. It's the only thing you can do because if your opponent gets that up too quickly, then they're going to get ahead of you economically, and that you do not want to happen. So,
On the other
meanwhile,
hand,
yeah, one is taking
Wanna
his.
just yeah, parried with another Nexus. So he was very quick with doing that. He's not behind at all, just 20 seconds on the Nexus. So I guess he decided that, well, if he wants to take a Nexus, I'll do that too. Maybe both players prefer a bit of a longer game, and we don't particularly mind either.
Yeah, longer macro games are of course good news for everyone. It means we get to cast and watch more awesome games. The players get to play more, which they may want to end it quickly, but we'll wait to see. Meanwhile, we do see Shooter does have that hidden probe there, which does unfortunately get scouted.
That could have done a lot of damage if it had gone unnoticed, but Wanna is on top of his game and did find the hidden probe in his base. There's nothing as annoying as missing a probe in your main base, and then at some point later in the game just seeing a whole bunch of units just appearing in your main. Well, you thought you had all normal attack pathways locked down, and then suddenly you forget that there's a small little corner behind a tree in your main where the probe has hidden and made a pylon. That's really annoying.
It is indeed very annoying. So that won't be occurring this game. Meanwhile, Shooter, he's getting up his robotics bay. He's going to be taking up towards Colossi. Meanwhile, we've got some blinking. That was really nice, that blink, and suddenly Wonna is going to be able to do some good damage. He just exploited the fact that Whirlwind does have that distance. You can blink across with an observer. Going to be able to pick off a pylon, and is then going to have to get very quickly out of there. Does not want to lose too much, but unfortunately the Stalkers do have to come out very, very slowly indeed, and all but one managed to get away. One made a bit of a mistake, and well, clearly blinked slightly to the side, but nonetheless, that was some good play by Wanna, did a nice little bit of damage, and forced Shooter to pull back all of his units.
It seems that Wanna didn't really do the move and then shift Q to blink and then move away combo to move his Stalkers over, because if you do it like that, then the Stalkers will blink one at a time, and then once they're at the other side, they'll make space for the rest. But instead he just seemed to just move his Stalkers to the edge and then try to blink small groups manually, which of course takes a lot more APM to get done.
But again, in the heat of the moment, when you've got a whole ton of Immortals and Gateway units chasing down your Blink Stalkers, you may just let that slip up. Meanwhile, both players getting out their Colossi, both players getting extended Thermal Lance. Wanna getting up his second robotics facility now. He's going to be getting a lot more out. So, as such, this just means that late game PvP is a lot about who has the most Colossus on the field.
Yes, we'll go into the War of the Worlds phase of PvP, where there'll be lasers all over the place.
Yep, lasers all over the place will definitely be coming down this game, and that is something that we always love to see. I love War of the Worlds endings. It just seems it's probably one of the most dramatic in-game compositions. I don't know. Do you think of anything better other than say carriers?
Yeah, I would like to. I do like the fight, and it looks all shiny. But I would like if the matchup would not.
Oh, Wanna's blinked in again. Sorry to interrupt you. Wanna has blinked back to the main base and is going to be able to snipe off a pylon very quickly. That was a nice little snipe off. Going to get another pylon there as well before he had to pull back. But Shooter forced to come back to defend this, and that is just delaying his push even longer. Gives Wanna more time to get up, more Colossi, and therefore he's going to be in a more stronger position in order to defend it. Already at 3-2, and Wanna should be able to start double Colossus production shortly.
Wanna also gets the observer that was trying to find gets XpTOPshooter's observer that was just flying around there, maybe trying to find Wanna's observer, but got a nice observer snipe with the Stalkers that remain. Like I was saying about War of the Worlds, I like seeing the fights. I would like if PvP did not always end there, that it would transition to something after the big laser show, because generally PvP has stuff happening, then you get a build up to Colossi, then you get a big laser show, and then one player wins. That's how it often goes, and I would like if there would be a way for it to transition into some next stage, maybe with air units or something else completely.
I think that's something that we'll see in Heart of the Swarm, to be honest, because Void Rays are very, very strong, and therefore I think we should be starting to see that coming into the expansion. And certainly in the Heart of the Swarm games, I've seen PvP. If it gets to the later game, which is quite infrequent now, that is one composition that I've seen a lot of Protoss players go for. But back to this game for the moment, we've got the 2-1 upgrades coming out for Wanna compared to just the +1 armor coming down for Shooter at the moment after completing +1 weapon. So that means the Wanna will take a slight advantage there. Wanna also securing up his third base at the same time as Shooter, but this is the big difference. There are 6 Colossi for our blue Protoss in the top left and only 4 for our yellow Protoss in the lower right.
Yeah, so if it does come to an engagement, Wanna is probably the one with the advantage. But if we look at the immortal count, it's 3 for TOPshooter and only 1 for DruidzWonna. So if it does come to an engagement and the immortals are controlled properly, they can take down these colossi very rapidly. So you can overcome some colossus deficits if you position nicely and also have your immortals really go down on the colossi. But it does require a lot of attention because you have to get in a good position with your army and then also focus fire with your immortals properly.
Yeah, indeed, it is something that is difficult to do, but not impossible. But that makes things very exciting for us as viewers. Meanwhile, we have got Wanna. He's going to try and get a good position as well, no doubt. He's trying to flank around. These couple of Stalkers are going to spot the Colossi, but unfortunately will therefore die for the privilege of knowing what is there. Meanwhile, we do have Shooter pushing in towards the third base of Wanna. He needs to be careful not to overcommit though, because otherwise Wanna could come and try and clean this up. The Immortal, the Zealots are coming in, and quite rightly Shooter pulling back. He needs to get out of there. He doesn't want to take too much of a risk, but it is going to be some close engagements now. But in terms of the loss tab, only 75 resources more lost for Shooter compared to Wanna at this stage of the game, so very close indeed.
And with the first swipes of the Colossi for Wanna that are currently giving chase, they're not really doing much than other than grazing the shields. But it seems that Wanna is wanting to force the issue. He did get a lot of Stalkers killed, and one Colossus is a bit overextended compared to the rest of the army. Does get some hull damage, but is able to retreat before it is taken down.
Yeah, that poor front Colossus did not get the message that we were going to hold back there. But here we go with the engagement. We see some good damage being done by both sides. The first Colossus is going to fall for Shooter. One goes down there for Wanna as well. Some Immortals doing good damage. And it looks like, for the time being, Shooter is going to be able to hold off those 3 Immortals, really making the difference. Even though their shields are gone, Wanna, he just does not want to take it at the moment.
Yeah, the positioning for Shooter was pretty good there. Had a bit of better arc.
Oh, 2 Immortals taken out there. That was really good.
Did get a Colossus in return, so I guess that is somewhat even. Both players were equal on Colossus when the fight started. If we look at it now, it's 5 for DruidzWonna, a 6 one just popped out, and also 6 for his opponent. So both players are again equal on the Colossus count, and also if you look at the supply, it's very close.
In terms of the worker count, there is no difference either. It is 57 to 58, so just 1 probe apiece. Meanwhile, we do have Wanna sitting there with that War Prism that you were highlighting for the stream there, with 4 Zealots rather, sitting there ready to get dropped out. But for the time being, they're just sitting there. They are just waiting patiently, and Wanna hasn't actually noticed that, which I think is really quite cool, that he's completely unaware that that threatening War Prism is waiting there, ready to kill.
I don't think there's a single anti-air unit for TOPshooter out there.
Oh no, there isn't, is there?
It's just a Zealots, Colossi, and 1 or 2 Immortals. So the War Prism can just fly back and forth and just be annoying. Now, of course, with some Zealots of his own, TOPshooter will be able to defend it relatively easily, but he cannot really stop the aggression.
No, and we've got more Zealots warping into the natural. Meanwhile, we've got Wanna pushing up in towards the third base. Good damage being done by both sides. Colossi, they are both at 6 apiece. 5 now for Shooter. He's losing his Colossus faster than that of Wanna, but Wanna has now just leveled it up. But the damage in the natural mineral line has been huge. Wanna has taken out 39 probes, and with that, Shooter says GG, well played, and we go into game 2.